seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry. Let's open up this perfect beer here because SAFC is a 3.0 and some RGV tears in here for that here. Royce, unfortunately, is stuck at work. So, Royce, I hope you're watching and sorry you weren't able to make it. But it helps if you get up and do your job, my friend. Well, then you get to be rewarded now. But in all seriousness, hope everything's all right with Royce's and the work here. Rafa, how are you?
Pretty good. Had a good weekend. Good Friday night.
High school soccer, right?
Yep. Did a double header at Gus, and then had a little travel to Lockhart to meet up with a coworker. Got some barbecue, and then yesterday I did the 50-50 podcast. Went over some of the bracket busters. We're gonna talk about on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll talk about there is one where you picked the state champion or state championship finalist, and they lost in the first round. And yeah, I gave up after that. I was like, man, there's a lot of wrestling out. But that's what we love for here. So on tonight's agenda, obviously we're going to talk about San Antonio FC, the big win that they had down in RGV. However, there is some questions, maybe not on the pitch, but off the pitch. Especially with the injury report that came out and who they took down to RGV in the depth with Open Cup coming, and I'm sorry if we're playing Phoenix or other elite teams, we have Phoenix this week here and that's our bench. I'm a little bit more concerned for it. I was concerned when they were playing RGV, but I'd definitely be concerned if that continues. Jasser's back officially. I don't think we touched base on that since last time. And then we will follow up with some CONCACAF and World Cup talk because this week, tomorrow's the last match, correct, for the United States and Mexico on Tuesday. And the draw will be Friday morning, I believe, here stateside for that here to see. I'm already penciling it, or I'm putting it in pen. The United States is going to the Open, or not to the Open Cup, but to the World Cup. For that here, I just don't see them giving up what they got to lose by greater than 6 goals, I think is what it is.
No.
So I just don't see that happening, but I guess anything's possible. But Bruce Arenas isn't the coach, so we won't be sitting back and just absorbing everything. So shout out at Bruce Arenas there.
There's no Trinidad in this game.
Bruce Arenas is the only coach I know that could be up 3-0, go to Mexico, and just sit back and just shoot at our goal and give up a 3-0 lead. So, but it's a whole different discussion here. So let's get started here. I think this is probably the best place to start at here. The injury report came out. Santiago Patino out. He hasn't been healthy all year. Hopefully he gets back soon. Mane we knew about because he's out 12 weeks here. Beckford, we had probably a feeling that he was out, for that as well because he was on the injury report. But our defensive midfielders, PC and Abu, both out of the match here. So your initial thoughts when you either saw or heard that?
When I saw the list, I was like, oh, crap. who would he have on the bench? We're gonna go with only 15 players, or we're gonna
Yep.
dress one of the keepers as a field player.
I had to look it up. I was like, how many do we need to have? And then I was like trying to figure out. And SAFC hasn't updated their website with the the academy signings or Jasser. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, because Jasser signed Monday, Tuesday of this week. So we're like, hey, is he hopping on the bus and going down? But
I have a feeling he'll probably play in that the Open Cup. That's just to get him in some type of game shape.
yeah, well, what's crazy if the Open Cup, San Antonio FC has to sign players. I don't think you can't continue with this thin of a roster because we don't even have enough players now. I think Open Cup, you're not stuck with your master USL lineup, so you could sign players for Open Cup only. They have done that in the past, so like trialists that they want to maybe look at a little bit longer, trialists that are in camp that haven't signed. I could see that some some youngsters now. The only thing is that they cannot be cup tied to another club, so that's the only thing here, and that will be. So we play Phoenix on the 2nd. On the 5th, they'll be playing Defeaters here at Toyota Field. If you haven't got tickets, go to SAFC. They came out with a new app. If you haven't downloaded the SAFC app, download it. It's pretty good. Like I said here, there's no check-ins along those lines here, but it is pretty interactive. They had a over/under on corners for some sort of promotional item. I picked the over. Everybody else picked the under, and everybody else won. So. For that here. So your thoughts on the injury reports? Anything that kind of sticks out to you? I know we don't know if they're serious or not. Do you think this was just because, hey, we're going against RGV and we got Phoenix coming up next, let's make sure we protect like PC and Abu who have kind of been beat up the last first 3 games?
I know for sure PC because he got mugged by Los Dos in that game. I didn't see much as far as with the booth. He got any, got knocked around or stuff. I know Beckford. We knew he was out since the first game because we saw him limp off and he got subbed out. And I was hoping maybe he'd probably get back, but after this game, we'll see if he comes back in the next game or not. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I was a little surprised about Abu. I'm just wondering with Patino's injury, how severe it is, because I know he had that stress fracture, last year, and I wonder if he re-aggravated it or, hope not, and honestly.
Well, he played all through camp. That's the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is it's kind of like Maloney was last year where they played through camp, but then all of a sudden you're not there during the opening week. So
I wonder if it's a hamstring issue or a groin injury that's kind of hampering him. That's a possibility, and that's what I think when Maloney had the same thing, same issue, like a muscle injury. So I'm wondering if we're just like, let's not rush him. Let's want to make sure it's 100%, and then we'll put him in there. But I like to see him play in that Phoenix game just to. He needs to already get it going. But if that's the precaution they're taking, then I fully understand. But on the flip side, if you're gonna be they're not gonna be coming back for a while, you do need to make some signings. And it was kind of interesting on the lineup that we had, and also who we had on the bench or lack of there. You kind of have to wonder, okay, do we need to bring some experienced players to kind of fill our bench for the meantime?
Yeah, so the lineup's up here. It's what 3-4-3 is what you would say it is.
Yeah.
PC did not play. That is actually Atas Diaf for that here. Unfortunately, that tells me it was probably a late scratch that PC came out on. To me, what strikes me is Maloney moved over to the DM spot for Abu, Gomez, and Gigi Torre out on the wings. To me, the back four: Bonilla, Tainer, Garcia, Manley. To me, they were the stars of the match, and I know Collier, David Lorera, and Justin Dillon, played their asses off, and especially in the second half, sacrificed offense for defense to help protect the lead. But Bonilla in that first half, and we'll get to the highlights here momentarily. That guy you can tell is special. He was able to shut down Frank Lopez. His ability to get disperse the ball out, and unlike in previous years, he can get the ball down the pitch where Matt was more play it out from the back. Bonilla will get it down to the offensive third on the other side here. So your thoughts on the starting lineup? And I know options. You could have picked the lineup just because there were the bench was Cardoni, Farr, both goalkeepers. Holt, Henrik Saxog, which is an academy player midfielder, Kai Luveri, which is a forward academy player. So we had 2 goalkeepers, 3 academies, and then the only other professional player that signed was Jordan Yimbala, who is a defensive player. I think came on for Gigi Troy. In the second half. So your thoughts on the lineup? I know there's not a lot of flexibility that Coach Marcina had to be able to pick.
Yeah, kudos to Coach Marcina being creative, for this game. And I don't know, maybe we had a feeling that maybe it was kind of like a throwaway game. It's like, hey, if we come out with a point, great. If we lose, well, it's because we didn't have our players. But as far as with the result, it was a great result. But when you got to the thing is, our defense is winning these games.
Mm-hmm.
Manley, Garcia, and Tainer's killing it. He's been a man child there. I'm glad we have him back. And when you add Jasser later on, Jasser coming back later on, we just, like I said, we may have the best defense in the league. I think like Manley's really stepped up in his role.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Garcia, what can you say about the back three? Those so far they've been the MVPs of these first 3 games because they've been stepping up. Yeah, they had a little one miscue with that one goal, but that was off a set piece.
And you're gonna have that. It's nobody. I know Mitchell Tainer put out a tweet, saying, "Hey, it wasn't perfect, but we got the job done." And I'm like, no game's ever perfect. You can go through and pinpoint here, but how you fought for the badge, to me was a huge point. And if I'm, and I've done my power rankings here, and I'm not saying San Antonio's the best team because they're not right now, but they're also not clicking. And if you look at, if you follow USL Tactics, John from USL Tactics, he still has us held down, but he even mentions injuries are the things that's holding us down. And yet we're one of, I think, 2, just Colorado Springs and us, that are still have the perfect 3-0 record. There are other teams that are still haven't lost for that here, but they've got a tie.
Yeah.
But to me that's the scary thought is for San Antonio FC. They're getting results probably in past years. I don't think, like last year, I don't think we get this result.
No, remember last year we got pretty much ran out of that place because we
went down.
Because we were just too slow in that game. But if you notice that we have the speed now to catch up to anybody, to match up with anybody, and I think the Toros were surprised how fast our team is, and I think also may have taken us lightly and say, hey, well, they have a bunch of academy players, on the bench. We're going to get 3 points out of this, but this team has a big pair of soccer balls, and that's what they're doing. They're playing lights out. they're going in with no fear. Hey, they're here not making really much excuses. They're just going out there and playing, and this is the result we have, and it couldn't be more happy. You mentioned the scary part is we're not 100%, and
Nope.
wait till we get to 100%, and maybe even add a couple little other pieces like we did midway. And then who knows what this team can do.
And I will say, to be fair to RGV, because on Get to Know, RGV Toros that I did Friday night with Edson, RGV is also dealing with some injuries. We know Ollie's out, and some of their other players that they thought were going to be keys to helping the team also hasn't played. So just to be fair, this is not a full RGV team as well for that here. Mm-hmm. But let's get to the highlights. This is courtesy of USL Championship. They're on YouTube. Their highlights here for that here.
Tomorrow, we're also going to begin. It's going to be Frank Lopez to kick it off, and we're underway here at HEB Park.
First opportunity here.
Head for Traore. Played back to 32, a French teammate. It goes in front. Miller has to come out and stuff that one. A shot in close by San Antonio, and Miller bounces off a few players' feet before Milosevic is able to send it downfield. And now a chance here, sent forward for Lopez, moving in on side. He shoots, save made by Bonilla.
So what'd you see on that play there of Bonilla's position as well as what caused the one-on-one?
That pass, that kind of, it was a little lazy pass, and I guess Maloney didn't see the two defenders in between that space, and then they still take it on a 1v1 breakaway there.
Chance here, sent forward.
Watch it right here. If we spit up a little bit, see how the angle, basically Bonilla has the angle cut off, so he knows that if he's going to go for an ear shot, it's going to be with his hands. He's got the far shot, he can block that with his feet, and he knows that he's got a couple defenders there to clear it out. So he didn't, and that's one thing Frank didn't see that his angles were cut off. I think the only chance he had was if he was trying to it would try to blast it high into the corners, which would be a difficult shot to do.
What about Tainer's positioning here? Do you think he's putting pressure on Lopez here at all to where it's going to cut back?
Yeah, I think he made him rush the shot a bit. Even if he tries to cut back, we got another defender to kind of cut him off right there too. So
Garcia,
Garcia's there, but Tainer really kind of made him rush the shot, and you see how it was just basically it's blocked by his feet. So if Lopez was gonna shoot near post, he would have gone. Bonilla would have gone on his hands. So that's kudos to Bonilla as far as cutting off that angle there as a keeper should. So that just shows his level of play when it comes to blocking angles on shots.
Royce, nice looking shirt there, my friend.
Yeah. Look at that.
So your thoughts on the play by Bonilla?
I mean, he definitely got his angles right, and angles are something you learn with experience. And part of it's on, I believe that's Taintor over there.
Tainer was
for Manly on the right.
There, yeah.
It's him showing the inline, which is good, which limits the space. It means the RGV player can't cut back. Which if he cuts back, he may have a better shot at it. But because Taintor's there to take away the cutback, then Bonilla can kind of square up, and he can center the space in where the angles are going to come for the shot. So it's good on Taintor to get back, because that's Manly's and obviously Garcia and Maloney are trying to get back, but Taintor's there in position, and it helps Bonilla get in position to make that save, which was very vital in this match.
And Frank Lopez, he came to San Antonio 2 years ago for here, so he's a proven goal scorer.
That was 2019
or 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Onside, he shoots, save made by Bonilla, and then played out by Connor Manley.
Yeah, and then of course something
here's
we
the
saw a lot
And here comes Lopez.
was Frank Lopez.
Nice
Whenever
job
he
of
misses,
pushing that to the
just
left to give himself some space
go ahead
to
and
operate.
hit the deck just in case.
Midfielder out of Atlanta, only 22
Yeah.
years old.
All right, here comes the goal for San Antonio.
Josh right there trying to get to it. Here's a chance for San Antonio.
Yep.
Sit into
JD
the middle, and it's a goal.
JD nipped
A
it
goal
off
for
of
San
the
Antonio as
defender
they
there.
score on the counter here.
And the
They'll do a
Fuses
close.
break.
They'll do a close up here of the because as soon as this goal scored, I got a message from an RGV fan that we banter back and forth about the foul. But I think when we were looking at it here, Rafa, Dylan with his pressing gets to the ball, which would neglect the foul. That is, I think, is the discussion that you and I were having pre-match, right?
Yeah, you sweep the ball. You can see right there. He's sweeping the ball away, and the player just falls over him.
Yeah, that's, and this match, the whole match, JD's hustle was second to none. This was definitely, dare I say, the Justin Dillon coming out party, because everything in the offense that we did revolved
Went through
around him. And his work rate was incredible. Without him, we don't win this match for sure. And he looked great. It's a great performance.
And that was Collier with the cleanup goal here on the open net with assist by Captain Maloney here on that here. Before we go further, any thoughts on the lineup or the bench for here? Obviously, I could have picked out the lineup just because there was really not a lot of options
Pretty much
for that here. But your thoughts on the lineup before we proceed further?
A few thoughts. As he gets a little older, Maloney in the middle makes a lot of sense. And I think I would like to see a lot more of him in the middle. I think he played really well. And that also allowed the wingers to get up a lot. Traore and Ayimbola were up a lot, and you don't see that with Maloney. Maloney will stay back, and the other winger will go up. But Maloney helps cover. A lot of the time when Shannon Gomez would go up, Maloney would come fill a space from the midfield, and they'd have Diouf in the middle kind of by himself as a lone six, which in the future that could be Mo, that could be PC, which ironically that's what the formation said.
We already covered that.
Yeah. But I think it worked really well. And I think that was a big honus for SAFC putting this team together in the offseason was let's get a lot of players that can play in a lot of different places, a lot of diversity. Loera can play midfield, as we saw. Whenever we're trying to defend a lead, he will drop into the midfield. Diouf literally played every single position except for goalkeeper last season for Austin. Manley can play as a wing back, as a right back, as a right-sided center back, or even a midfielder. Maloney can obviously do a lot of different jobs. That's just kind of I think that's why they put this team together. Traore is a left back. He's also a left wing back. He's also a left center back, and he's a midfielder. We've seen that as well. So it's a very diverse team, and that's not even including PC, and he can play as a left back, as a midfielder. Yeah. It's all about versatility. Unfortunately, I think the big thing about this formation, excuse me, not necessarily about the formation, but the roster that they put together this season. I think the gym, the thing that was supposed to be the big, the big exciting thing is Kukute Mane, and unfortunately he's hurt until the second half of the season. But that's kind of what I've been saying is I think the second half of the season, yes, we're starting out really strong. I think the second half of the season is going to be that much stronger.
Because I know in conversations we've had saying, hey, we need another DM that kind of fills in for, PC or Abu. I think we saw maybe that's already on the lineup that we didn't anticipate with Maloney.
Yep. I agree with Maloney, and obviously Juve can play everywhere. Unfortunately, he did get a yellow card, as did Traore, and that's why Traore came out later in the match, and Ayimbala came in. But yeah, that is the thing that we did not count on, is Maloney being in the middle. I had him outside, and I had Traore inside. Not the case, and I see why. I thought he looked really good in the midfield.
He looked comfortable.
Yeah.
So
Look at that beautiful turn.
He really moved the ball a lot too. That was the key, having somebody that can distribute.
And this was just a hell of a play. That's just tough. That's just tough. That's tough to defend. That's just tough to defend. That was a really good goal. Juve follows that run from the midfield. Never really catches up to him, but that header is almost indefendable.
yeah,
It's just a great play.
it's a class goal. There's nothing else you can say.
Yep. Just pick it out and try to score another one a minute later. That's all you can do.
Which is what happened.
Oh, speaking of. Yeah, a really bad touch there. JD to Loera, and Loera with the modern day Ever Guzman. If he would have walked it in, if he would have
A little bit more contact on this one here, though.
Oh no, for sure. But
Our leading goal scorer, by the way.
Yep, that's 2 for him, isn't it? So yeah, he is the leader.
And that's match highlights, I believe.
Yep, that's it.
So
But you notice on that play, that goal we got, our mids and our forwards really swarmed their midfield from really kind of starting their attack. And when we countered on them, we had all that spacing and we just didn't let up. And that's what I'm noticing these last few games. We're not giving you opportunities to set your offense. We're going to swarm you. We're going to disrupt anything. And then when we do steal it, we're going to go score on you. And that's kudos to the coaching staff there that, and I can only imagine once we get at full strength, what all the speed that we have, what can we really do? That's going to be the scary part going into the, mid into the later season.
And that's obviously what we're setting up. That's what Marcina has set up, is a quick counter press, and go. And that's kind of what I've said from the beginning. That's what we're setting up for. And depending on the phase of the game, it's going to be a very similar setup. It just depends on where that line is. Toward the beginning of the game, or even if we're chasing a goal, our line's going to be pretty high up, and we're going to be doing that counter pressing. This is very much a Liverpool-esque kind of thing, except Liverpool does it in a 4-3-3. We're doing it in a 3-4-3. But that's exactly it. It's a quick counter press. It's a quick attack. And when you have the likes of Kukuta Mane with his speed, when you have the likes of Deshane Beckford with his speed, you have Shannon Gomez on the right, you have Gigi Traore on the left. That's an insane amount of speed. That means your midfield can stay back a little bit and help defend. That means your center backs can kind of spread out a little bit, because the team's going to be more worried about that counter press than anything. And we're seeing the results already, in the setup pay dividends already. And SAFC is just an exciting team right now to watch.
So some key stats here. Number one, the reason why there's no highlights in the second half is, I don't want to say San Antonio parked the bus, but in the way they did, they put a lot of people back. Dylan, David,
Collier, David, Loera,
all played a huge part in that second half defensively. And you could tell they sacrificed the offense. And to me, the biggest way you can see that is overall, possession of the ball, 66%, 34%. RGV to San Antonio. However, in the first half, it was a 60-40, which is traditionally what San Antonio likes to keep. San Antonio had 9 shots, 6 on target. RGV 6 shots, 4 on target. To me, the big one was through here. But then you go to the second half, it was 72% for RGV, 28%. To me, interceptions for 24 clearances, 15 aerial duels, 1. More important, RGV kept trying to cross the ball in. They were 1 for 22 or 5% on crosses in the second half.
Which, if you remember last year, whenever we beat Austin Bold 3-0, that was the exact same thing for Austin Bold, where they had cross after cross after cross, and we had clearance after clearance after clearance. This is a carryover from last season. But like I said, depending on the phase of play in the beginning of the game, or if we're chasing the game, that line is super high. If we have the lead or we're defending, that line is super low, but we're doing the same things. We're doing the same pressing actions, and we're doing the same countering actions. The issue kind of this time is we didn't have subs available.
Didn't have a bench.
That weren't really academy players. So Justin Dillon kind of ran himself into the ground, which, I mean, once again, shout out to Justin Dillon. These 3 points are yours just about single-handedly, my guy.
When you have Mitchell Tanner calling him out, praising him, saying, hey, he's a key, that says a lot when another player calls out, especially in this team-oriented defense, for the starting forward to call out on that. I think the only time I've seen that was the first game last year with Patino, when he came back and had that huge defensive play on the sideline. Yeah, that's the only other time where I've seen. Yeah,
really where they lost the ball. They lost the ball super far at the box, and he ran all the way from box to box in like the 85th minute and made the block that saved the game. Yeah, that's exactly it. And he was on a hat trick at that point too, and he got his hat trick after that. And that's exactly what it is. That's what it takes, and that's what the Marcina system kind of it takes a buy-in, and these players have bought in. You just hope they get healthy. We need to get the roster healthy again, and it's a thing that happens. The injury bug, and you got to work your way around it, and they're kind of navigating it pretty well. Rumor has it we may get some respite. We may get some players back, which would help out a lot. But as I was saying, later in the game, we didn't really have any subs that could come in. And JD and Elliott, I mean, they're big dudes running around all the place. They kind of wore themselves out. So we couldn't really counter that well. So we were more worried about defending. Is a very similar thing to the U.S. and Mexico match, where at the end of the match, the U.S. was just spent. They were done. And so they had like Yedlin was hurt, and they had to bring in defenders, and basically they just parked the bus until the end of the match for the last 10 minutes because they really couldn't do anything going forward. The only thing they had going forward was Gio Reyna making that insane slaloming run through the entire Mexico 11. That's all they had, and because everybody was tired, I mean,
you don't have to pour salt on the Wafa's wounds already.
I don't think it's salt on the wound. We're all going to the World Cup. The only time that salt's going to go on that wound is whenever Mexico doesn't make it out of the group stage, which is probably going to happen. But we'll talk about that when we come to it.
Harry had to discuss that. Around.
But no, but it was an impressive match, impressive performance, especially for the lineup. And it's something to build on for sure, because I kind of chalked it up as either a draw or a loss, and they proved me wrong. They did really well, and hats off to them. Some great performance, and looking forward to Saturday.
I also think we will, all this, I think we do still need to add a little more depth. And I don't know if they already have their target on some of the players already, but we do need, for a situation like this, because, let's say if we're in the situation like this with Phoenix, we definitely will probably lose this game, or maybe, it was maybe Sacramento or Colorado, especially if Colorado has some speed. But I think honestly, we do need to bring in, like I said, maybe another forward or a hybrid, someone that can play like a false nine. Definitely another central mid to kind of help, add just some little depth. Even though we can put Maloney out there, we need to be adding some more, maybe 2 or 3 players. I know we have Jasper, but he's going to take some time.
Yeah, he's got to get the match fitness for sure. Yeah.
So,
And I mean, at the same rate, I mean, you got Patino. That's supposed to be your number 1 forward.
Mhm.
You got Beckford. That's your backup 10 for the Loero spot. You have Kukute Mane. He's supposed to be in there, probably slotted as the second forward next to Patino, with the 10 behind him. You have those players. They're just they're injured, man. Maloney is obvious. I think Maloney is the backup 6, if I'm completely honest.
That's what I think now too. Yeah.
And I think you're going to see him in the middle a lot, and you're going to see Traore, Ayimbola, and Gomez out on the wings.
Your thoughts on Jordan? I thought that RGV targeted him and quite a bit, and we're just being transparent. I thought we were kind of lucky to still finish 11-on-11. Number 1, I thought Collier could have got a second yellow earlier in the second half, and Jordan Yambala could have possibly got a second yellow later on. But your thoughts on how Jordan did? That was his first appearance for San Antonio FC.
Rafa, go.
No, I think he did well. I mean, just being thrown into, basically was thrown into the fire. But he did his role. He played well. He's just going to get better from the more time he gets. I think that the cards are more out of just inexperience, or just I know that first when he got the only card he got, he was beat on that play, and he could have defended a little bit better. He just could have followed through with that play and maybe end up blocking the cross. He didn't really have to bring him down. But that in time, excuse me, he's going to learn how to do those things, properly and so forth. So, the sky's the limit with him. And like I said, he's going to learn from the other guys, like from Maloney, PC, and all that. So we're fine to have him on there, But
my first impressions of Ayimbola is he's big. Holy crap! I did not expect him to be that big. He is intimidating. And yeah, he was a little slow on his tackle that he got the yellow for. But game speed will come to him. But he is a specimen, dude. That dude is a giant, and I'd love to see that. I'd love that guy on my team for sure. Traore looked really good, although he also got a yellow for. He was a little late on a kind of a desperate challenge. RGV's right winger had made a run past him, so it was kind of a do or die. Either I foul him now and get a yellow card, or he's getting in that box right now, or he's going to put in a very dangerous cross because he has space to cross. So he took one for the team and took the yellow. That was a pretty ugly one, and that's why Traore came out. That's why Ayimbola came in, and pretty much the same thing happened. But Ayimbola got forward a lot, but that is a big guy. That is a big dude. Maloney has a 6. I was pretty impressed by. Juve also got a yellow for a very similar tackle where they got by him and he knows he's the only one and he's going to have to take that. I love to see that because I know Juve just turned 21, 22. That was a PC foul. If I've ever seen one in my entire life, that is a PC told him, if somebody gets by you, you kick the shit out of them and go borderline red, but get that yellow because you're going to need that because it's going to save a goal, and that's what you need to do. And that felt like a baton kind of being passed right there.
So before we get to this week's, just highlighting some of the top matches in USL Championship, mainly focusing on the West here. On Wednesday, we have the high school show where Rafa and I are going to go over the brackets. Rafa's going to preview what round will we be in? The semis?
Well, we'll be past
third round.
We'll pass the area, right?
Tomorrow's the area round, and then we'll be discussing who's going to the regional quarterfinal on Friday, Saturday.
And so we'll have that. And then on Friday, I have been able to get Owen Evans, who is part of Go Phoenix, GoPHNX.com, who covers the Rising, who will be in town on Saturday night for that match here. So if you want to join either Rafa or Royce on Friday at 7, we'll be having Owen kind of talk about Rising. And there's a lot to talk about Rising right now. They've lost 2 straight. They lost to San Diego, where, in my opinion, they were outplayed majority of the match, with the exception of about a 5-10 minute period when Rising got back into it with goals by Musa and Sejas. But then Alejandro Guido in the 76th minute put it away for the Loyal, getting a big 3-2 win out in Phoenix. Sacramento beat Tulsa, was another one. Colorado Springs remains perfect with the tough road win, 2-0 over Birmingham Legion away. But to me, the match, Monterey Bay, Sam Gleadle, they got their first win against Oakland Roots on Saturday night. But your thoughts on El Paso, Vegas? It was during our marathon UIL soccer bracketology. Rafa and Coach Cano and I were watching it and following it along. 0-0 at half, finishes 5-4 in favor of the Lights. Rafa, your thoughts? I don't know if you saw the highlights or your thoughts on El Paso, because that seems to be a story right now.
It was like a marathon, like with ours, going 6 hours. I was a little surprised that El Paso allowed all those goals, and then I saw some of the mistakes they were making in the back were like, they had kind of hyped this team up, and I know they had a coaching change, but they were just hyping them up. Oh, they're going to be a contender, and they didn't really look like a contender because they were just making real dumb mistakes in the back. Basically, they just handed Las Vegas goals, throughout the entire game. So I'm surprised that they gave up. I thought it was going to be like a blowout, but it ended up turning out almost like a rout for Las Vegas. But it was, like I said, just a back and forth game.
Your thoughts, Royce, on El Paso and their 0-3 record and -4 goal differential, allowing a league high 10 goals?
Yeah, I watched that match. I watched that match from that's a word for it. Whenever I think USL had posted, I think they tweeted, "Lights are up." Was it 3-0 in El Paso? Yes. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch El Paso come back because I know Lights can't defend to save their lives. And I was right. But El Paso also couldn't defend to save their lives in that match. And I was surprised that the Lights player was the only player to get a red card in that at the end of the match.
I was surprised about that as well.
He went in with an open hand and shoved. He missed the chest and got the throat, and that's why he got the red. But just before, as he's making contact, Yuma also pushes him in the throat.
Yes.
So I think that should have been
the guy that went and got the ball from the player. To me, that should have been.
Yeah.
That started it right there.
Yep. It was the instigator. Yeah.
You let the ref handle it. Time wasting, they'll add it on, but. Yeah, no, just the Lights player to get the red, that was a little I get it. He was the aggressor, but you had 2 other aggressors at the same time. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying we know how officiating is in this league. And we know Yuma.
Yeah, that's correct. But at the same rate, man, El Paso's defense just looks shambolic. And I know one of their big things, I know Newton hasn't played keeper in over a year. He was injured with the Indy 11. Yeah. And he's just kind of coming back. But I think it's on the manager for El Paso that, you have a keeper that's out of form. You have a low confidence keeper, and yet you're still going to try to maintain this.
Well, he's not a sweeper keeper either.
No, he's not.
The other issue.
You're going to try to maintain this high distribution goalkeeper setup with a goalkeeper that doesn't distribute very often, and he's never really done it in his career. It's a very strange option, and it's definitely one of those things where fitting a square peg in a round hole, you're having problems with it you've got to adjust something to your game plan, and he hasn't adjusted anything. Your cat's opening the door. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's kind of baffling. At the same time, El Paso can score when they want to against a not so mature defense, which their offense looked good for sure. Hold on.
Well, I don't think they have
But-
the offensive to get past our defense.
Well, and that'll be an interesting thing that I want to see is how they do against a USL Championship defense, not an MLS Next defense. And that'll be the interesting thing to see. And how much they have to bunker. What comes out of this, because their game plan is not working, and they've got to adjust something for sure.
But we talked about that before the season started with them on San Antonio struggles, because they're playing a lot how San Antonio plays that high press along those lines. But San Antonio struggles on baseball pitches. We struggle in El Paso. We struggle in Tulsa when we have to go there. We struggle in New Mexico. So I question on number one, I understand that may be the coach's philosophy, but playing in a narrow pitch, is that really the best philosophy to be playing?
I think there you have to play if you're going to play on a narrow pitch, and this is something I was brought up actually last night when I was with the 50-50 podcast coach from Bernie. He mentioned, if you're going to play on a narrow pitch, you basically got to go direct. You got to go at them, and we have the players to do that. And I think if wherever we're playing at, whether Las Vegas or El Paso or New Mexico, I think that's the approach we're going to have to play is play them direct, and hopefully be able to get behind them on those through balls just to get the goals in. And I don't think really El Paso is really doing too much of that, which they should be because that's their pitch. But I don't know. They haven't really grasped whatever coaching philosophy they have with that, with them right now. But the thing is, their liability is their goalkeeping and their defense, and that's where they're allowing a bunch of goals.
Yeah, the real interesting thing about El Paso, they have a baseball field pitch. It's narrow. Big surprise. It's the same thing as New Mexico United. And what New Mexico United has done on their field, they don't play with width at all. If you're going to play sweeper keeper, you need width. And that's kind of the weird thing. I mean, look at the Allianz Stadium where the Bayern München play. Look at not the Emirates. What am I talking about? Where Manchester City plays. I can't think of the stadium. Nobody cares. Etihad. The Etihad. Super wide, super big pitches. Even at Wembley, Manchester City's super good at Wembley on the cup games because it's the biggest pitch in England. And that's why they play distribution. And that's why we do so well on our field. That's why we did so well at RGV. That's why we did so well at Los Dos. They all have the normal soccer pitches where the wingbacks can go wide, the keeper can distribute wide. And that's why we haven't historically done well at the baseball pitches, because they're not. And so the keeper, once you get it, you have to go direct. You just go forward and you have to beat them that way. And for El Paso to try to do the sweeper keeper distribute wide when you don't have width on your pitch physically, it's baffling. It really is. I don't get it. But
I will say, seriously, Loco, like I said here, I think that'll be a must-listen show this week for it here. But the final topic we got to get to CONCACAF. This is where we're at the moment. Canada's already qualified, 28 points. In my opinion, the United States has already qualified.
Nice work, Canada. Nice work, Canada.
They get Costa Rica.
That was the big surprise out of this qualification is Canada besides Italy not making the World Cup for the second
time in a row.
World Cup in a row, 8 years without. That's awful for Chiellini and Bonucci, but wow. The big surprise is Canada. Congrats to Canada. Let's not talk about Italy. Congrats to Canada. That's awesome, man. I'm happy for them.
U.S. Gets Costa Rica on 2 days from now, Wednesday. Mexico gets El Salvador. Your thoughts on how this last match day sets up? We'll go with you, Rafa, with Mexico.
They'll get the one with El Salvador. I mean, technically, all they really need is a win or a tie, and they're in the game's at home. So, I think that should not be a problem. I think there was a comment made yesterday, but Alvarez, the one that scored the goal. I think they came to a realization that they got to play with more heart, and we'll see after what happens after if they do qualify, if they make a coaching change or not. Because this team really needs to get inspired by November. If not, it's going to be a disaster for them. As far as with the U.S., like I said, U.S. win or tie. The interesting thing is with Costa Rica, I read an article. Costa Rica has a guys with 8 yellow cards, and they're like, well, should we just throw the game and roll the dice and play that qualifier game in New Zealand with all our players, or do we just go all out against the U.S. and risk having those players not play that qualifier game? So it's going to be a tough choice with Costa Rica, what decision they make, going into that last game.
Because realistically, I never say never with the United States, but United States isn't losing by 6 goals or more. Mexico should be able to handle business, but even if they don't, they still have to make up a +4 goal differential on that. So let's say Mexico loses by 1.
Mm-hmm.
For that, that's still 3 goals that they would have to beat. I still don't think Costa Rica gets 3, past the United States either. So, Royce, your thoughts on United States, number one, their performance on this cycle, a 1-1 draw in Mexico, and then trouncing Panama last night 5-1.
Go USA. That's it.
So the draw for the World Cup is April 1st. Right? Yeah, Friday, April 1st. Should be in the morning here.
April Fools.
And Rafa and I were discussing most likely the United States and Mexico, unless you finish in that 4th slot. Will probably be in pot 2. So just, based on the rankings where they're at already and teams that, can qualify or are already qualified. So odds of them dropping below into pot 3 is pretty slim for that here. So final thought. So we might get out of here at a reasonable time.
Yeah, just real quick. Albert Pujols is back home in St. Louis. All is right in the baseball world. That's all I got. I'm so happy. I could not be happier.
It's his retirement year, right?
Yeah, it's his last. He announced it's his last ride. So I think this is the last year for Wainwright. It's the last year for Yachty. Last year for Pujols, all in the same season. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. That's my childhood right there. Honestly, that's my childhood. Growing up as a teenager, watching them, and till now, it's amazing. That's all I got. And go SAFC on Saturday.
Rafa, your final thoughts?
The final thoughts. I guess tomorrow, very interesting matchups. Can San Antonio finally get the monkey off and beat these Austin teams? And we have some pretty good, can they knock off Westlake, Lake Travis, and the Ron Rocks? Both the men's and the women's teams. Can they do it? And if they can, great, because now we could have all San Antonio maybe finals. I know we have some teams, San Antonio teams, going through the Valley districts. Harlan's got a big tough one coming up against Brownsville Rivera. That's probably one of our games of the week. And the girls' side, Brennan, they have showdowns with some of the Valley teams as well. So good luck to all those teams. And then we'll see where I'll end up live streaming. Tomorrow I may be going out west, little out west, a little town that has a nice little bakery. So you may be seeing me there live stream that game. And also kudos to all the viewers from the Friday's live stream. I had, I think, over 1,000 people on there. So kudos to that for both games. And I think they reached out to him and said, "Hey, if we win and play a San Antonio team, can we watch against it? Go right ahead if we get permission." So thank you guys for all the likes and the views. So, and then go at SAFC. Let's give Phoenix a third straight loss for the season.
It'll be tough, and like I said, my final thoughts. I want to thank Edson and Jacob, both from down in the valley. Jacob came on and did the high school show with us. Edson did the the get to know RGV kind of match preview on really mainly looking at their side for that here. Thank you, Coach Kano with the 50-50 podcast, and I forgot Felix out in El Paso. Thank you for coming on. Like I said here, the 6-hour show was a lot of fun. A little tiring. We might need to work on. I don't know how we can get it shorter. I don't. It's not like you can do it on a different day because of the.
We just give good analysis because we really broke down a lot of those records.
We broke down a lot of matches, and I think it's just one of those. I didn't put it on a podcast because, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. Even I won't listen to a 6-hour podcast, and I'm not going to take that up if you download our podcast automatically. So it's, if you do want to catch it, it's on the YouTube, and Twitter and Facebook. I think you can go back and rewatch them. But that episode I did not do as a podcast here for obvious reasons. But want to thank everybody, for tuning in. Robert, Matt, thank you both for comments. AJ, thank you for listening. I know you didn't comment on this one here. But for me, it was kind of a cool day today. AJ got to try out for his middle school soccer team, which was kind of a cool dad moment, for that here. Although I went and watched part of the practice, and he's, because he has part 2 tomorrow. He's like, "Dad, you're not going to come watch tomorrow." I'm like, "Well, did I embarrass you?" He's like, "No, but."
Oh man, yep.
But it was one of those. My dad's not here, and it was one of those things where kind of one of those full circle moments in life where I remember my dad taking me for football and wrestling, and I finally get to do it with AJ here. So
you got to show him the Bull Durham clip where the pitcher's all in his head because his dad's filming him, and the catcher has to go out to the young pitcher and go, it's your old man. He's as full of crap as anybody. He doesn't matter. You need to focus on the game. Yeah, exactly.
But no, it was like I said here. It was, it's one of those cool life events that walking away, I was like, hey, this is kind of cool, and especially having lost my dad. Well, it's been 15 years. It was one of those things that still, man, still you still remember like yesterday. So cool dad moment. For that here, I know Royce is getting to share his baseball love with his son.
Yeah, he had his first T-ball games this weekend. Speaking of,
like
yeah,
here.
It's exciting.
But we got to get out of here. We're under an hour, which I think is the first time in a long, long time. I guess it makes up for that 6-hour show. But what's life without goals? Hope everybody has a great day. If you can, tune in on Wednesday. If you can, tune in on Friday. And, of course, if you go to our website, hold on a second here. I got to get better at promoting this. SATXsoccer.net. There is a little microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. If you ever want to leave a message for us on the game, about the show, or just to say hi, please do. But what's life without goals? We're out of here.
See ya.